Jew, what's up, man? Let me see. Hi, at the stream. Jew, what's up, man?
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, man. Loud and clear, my brother.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey, man, doing good, man. Doing good. How you been, man?
Hey, I'm chilling, man. Look, excited for this game, week 1, man. Behind enemy lines. Hey, I'm ready for it, though.
Okay. So, of course, we was going to have like a whole little show about it, man. But, we could do it in front of, I don't know how long you got, man. But, I guess I would say, so what's some of your expectations for the Falcons this year?
Oh, man. For this year, to be honest, I really feel like the Falcons have a chance to win the division. But at the same time, we don't know what Desmond Ridder necessarily is going to do, as you was mentioning. Like, if I'm the Carolina Panthers, if I'm the New Orleans Saints, if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my game plan going into every single week until Desmond Ridder proves like that he's a franchise quarterback, that he has, he can beat you with his arm. You were saying exactly what I believe. Like, you have to, try to stop our run game. Last year, we were a top 5 running team in the league. So the 3-headed monster between Cordell Patterson, Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier, man, like, that's the strength of our team. And that's basically the strength of Arthur Smith's, our head coach's offensive scheme. He came over from the Tennessee Titans where he had Derrick Henry, man, and they ran the ball down people's throat, and they tried to slow the game down. And that's pretty much what we tried to do last year. So I completely agree with you. Of course, because I'm a fan of the Falcons, every year, since I've been a fan, I always believe that we can beat anybody. But at the same time, I understand exactly where you were taking it. Like, if I'm the coach of the Carolina Panthers or any of these teams, my first number one, goal would be, the game plan would be stop the Atlanta Falcons run, because we use basically that running game to open up the pass, open up our play action pass. So I really feel like right now the unknown, the question mark is Desmond Ridder, to be honest with you. Do I believe that he's better than a lot of people are giving him credit for? Similar to what you were saying with Bryce Young, I do. Just looking at what Desmond Ridder did on the collegiate level, as far as never losing a home game, taking Cincinnati, which is not a team known in college football as a powerhouse team, getting them to the college football playoff was crazy. You know what I'm saying? You don't see that done. As you were talking about Travis Hunter and you were talking about, Colorado, Desmond Ridder kind of went under the radar because he's not a number 1 draft pick. Quarterbacks, if you're not a first round draft pick, they kind of, you can look at Brock Purdy, for example. He was a guy that was Mr. Irrelevant where, once he got in the game for the 49ers, he was better than a lot of people thought. And I feel like the same thing with Desmond Ridder. I feel like he's not really getting the credit that he deserved, even though he kind of put up the numbers at the collegiate level. It just wasn't, in the SEC. It wasn't in the ACC. It was in a smaller conference.
Okay. I got you. So Desmond Ridder hasn't really shown, in your opinion, everybody what he can do on this level as of yet. Even from the games that he filled in for Mariota, you don't think that was the full totality of what Desmond Ridder can offer?
Right, exactly. When you're not the starting quarterback, he wasn't getting those reps that he got this year. Mariota was the guy, so he was the understudy. Last year, the last 4 games, he kind of was just thrown in there because Marcus Mariota got benched, but he also got injured. So I really feel like we only got a little taste or a sample of what Desmond Ridder can really do. But having that full off season, to come back, to study that playbook, and come back, I really feel like this year we're really going to see what Desmond Ridder can do. But it's kind of like sink or swim for him, man. Like, I give him at least the next 2 years to see what he can do. But I think the Falcons did the right thing to put the weapons around him. So now if he fails, it's like it's all on him at this point. Desmond Ridder got to prove to everybody, not just, Panther Nation, not just all of, the teams that we'll face, but he's still trying to prove it to Falcons Nation, like Atlanta Falcons Nation. Like, a lot of people, in Dirty Bird Nation, they don't even believe in Desmond Ridder. Like, we've been fighting to, get this man the respect that he deserves. But to be honest with you, a lot of the Atlanta Falcons fan base wanted Lamar Jackson, just because of Michael Vick. You know what I'm saying? They thought that Lamar Jackson would be a better fit, but it was just going to take too many assets for us to, try to get a Lamar Jackson. But personally, I think they did the right thing. I always compare it to, if you guys haven't been following my channel, I've been comparing Desmond Ridder to Jalen Hurts. If you remember with Jalen Hurts, like before last season, nobody believed in Jalen Hurts. It wasn't until he put up those big numbers last year that team kind of all the fans, even the media, everybody's eyes was open to how good Jalen Hurts could be after he had the run that the Eagles had last year. But prior to that, everybody talked about Jalen Hurts similar to Desmond Ridder. Like, he's a one-read quarterback. He doesn't have the strongest arm. They had all of those different things. He can't read defenses. Like, pretty much everything they said about Jalen Hurts before last season is the same thing they're saying about Desmond Ridder. So I really feel like we got to wait and see. That's one thing that I, always say is, I don't know, as much as I like I'm a content creator for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't like to state things that I haven't seen yet. And we haven't seen him do it on the NFL level. We've seen it the last 4 games of last season, but we haven't seen him as the starter, the full-time starter. So I really feel like this year he kind of has to prove it, show and prove.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And I think in like manner, man, when it comes down to Bryce Young, I think we've seen glimpses in things of the processing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't a true friend of the S2 cognitive test, but after watching, CJ Stroud go through his hiccups and the other, quarterback Anthony Richardson and some Will Levis, I now see why this test is important, because the processing that Bryce has is next level compared to some of the quarterbacks that we've seen in the same draft class. Now, let me ask you this question, and I know this is something that may be old, but how was the the thought process with the Falcons fan base when you guys let Matt Ryan go for, I believe it's for Mariota, am I correct?
Well, initially we were trying to get Deshaun Watson, and that was the reason why everything kind of, fell through with Matt Ryan, because at the time, Matt Ryan was the franchise guy. He had given, everything to Atlanta, man. Took us to a Super Bowl. Should have won that Super Bowl when, the 28-3 and all of that. But it was really the Deshaun Watson, us kind of trying to go after Deshaun Watson, that really, basically why Matt Ryan decided to move on, because it was like no coming back from that, man. Like, as much as we try to downplay, we really weren't trying to go after Deshaun Watson. I really think we were, because Deshaun Watson had ties with the Atlanta Falcons. Like, Warrick Dunn, if you remember Warrick Dunn, the running back for the Atlanta Falcons years ago, also was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has like a foundation where he gives homes to single mothers. Mm-hmm. And Deshaun Watson's mother was actually one of those mothers that he actually built the house for, his foundation. So Deshaun Watson was actually a ball boy for the Atlanta Falcons. So he has ties to the Atlanta Falcons organization. He knows Arthur Blank, who's our owner. They're really close. So that was the main reason they actually went after Deshaun Watson, because they felt like they know his character. Even though all of the allegations were out there, they really went after Deshaun Watson and tried to get him. It was just the Browns, man, that $240 million or whatever they gave him guaranteed. The Falcons couldn't really match that number. That number was crazy. But I think outside of him getting that money that he got, I really think that there was a high percentage that they could have got Deshaun Watson. So that really is what soured, the Matt Ryan situation. Because even after that, Matt Ryan was still under contract. But at that point, I think the front office did the right thing with just telling Matt Ryan, wherever you want to go, we'll trade you to that place. They basically allowed him to seek a trade, basically. So, right. That's kind of why it failed, what fell through. The relationship is still there. Like, Matt Ryan was actually at training camp this year. Yeah, he's still cool with Arthur Blank and all of that. Yeah, everything is still good. It was just on a professional level, man. It's like being told you second best, man. There was no coming back from it. The media, it got out that Deshaun Watson, we were really, courting him and stuff like that. And once that got out there, man, it was a wrap. And I felt like Matt Ryan deserved, after all he had given to our organization, he deserved to be able to go to greener pastures, because he had did everything. And I feel like at that point, it was no coming back from it, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I watched, you guys, because you guys are in our division. When I saw that, and plus, depending on the Panthers was in that Deshaun Watson, sweepstake as well. I think we may have been the 3 finalists between the Panthers. I want to say it was the Browns and somebody. I want to say
the Saints was out there too. The Saints was, I think, a team that was still out there too. Yeah, the Saints, because they lost Drew Brees. So at the time, They said it was down to the Saints and Falcons, because at one point his agent basically stated like that the Browns kind of had bowed out of the whole thing. Like they weren't. It came down to either the Falcons or the Saints. And then somehow, some way, the Browns came back with that crazy contract, and then just like swooped in and got
him. Yeah. That contract was crazy, man. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that their new. I know we're talking about the Panthers and Falcons, but I think that their new quarterback DTR is a lot better than Deshaun Watson. That's just my opinion. But
the rookie that they have.
Yeah.
I've seen him play. Yeah, Duke can play. I don't know. I won't go as far as say he's better than Deshaun Watson. But to me, he looked like Deshaun Watson. He has a lot of traits, man. Like when I seen him, he wears number 17, right, for the Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he looked good in the preseason. I think that Deshaun Watson will bounce back. I just think a lot of people got to realize with Deshaun Watson, he missed 2 years of football. Like the man missed the whole season. And then last season, he missed the first half of the season from suspension. So you got to think about it. Being out of the league for almost 2 full years, it was going to take him some time to get back, to playing the game and things of that nature. I really think that we'll see the best of Deshaun Watson this year, because if you remember the year prior to him, having that year-long suspension, he actually led the NFL in passing yards. He had almost dang near 5,000 yards passing. So, and if you go look at the weapons he had, he didn't have many weapons, because at that point, D-Hop had moved on to the Cardinals. I think his best receiver was like Brandon Cooks or something that season. So I think Deshaun Watson still has a lot left in the tank as well. It's just, I think it's all mental with him at this point, just mentally him getting back into the swing of things. But I think we'll see the best with him and Nick Chubb running that football. I really think we'll see the best of him this season, man.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you this question. I don't know how much longer you got. Let me ask you this question, man. So, Panthers, Falcons. Let's just look at this scenario. Fourth quarter. Panthers are on the 30-yard line. No, I take that back. Panthers on the goal line, going in for a touchdown, needing a touchdown. Do we get it? Yes or no?
Depends on the score of the game, but I feel like when you get on a goal line, it just depends. Like if it's come down to like a fourth down situation, who knows? I really think with NFC games, for whatever reason, even when we played the Panthers in the past, like if you look at even just last year's games, our games are usually close. So, close. I try not to disrespect any team in the NFC South. As much as I hate the Saints the most, just because that rivalry runs deep, with the Falcons and Saints. But I really feel like this game, and I talked about it a little bit on my video that I did, I really think it's going to come down to the trenches. And that's why I think the Falcons kind of have the leg up, on the Carolina Panthers. I really think that you guys, I think it's going to come down to coaching, and I think it's going to come down to the trenches. But I really feel like I watched some of you guys' preseason games, and I just don't know if you guys are going to be able to protect Bryce Young in this game. He's going to have to use his legs in this game, and he's going to have to get the ball out fast. If he doesn't get the ball out fast, I really feel like Calais Campbell, Grady Jarrett, I really think they're going to overwhelm you guys, because this isn't the Falcons from last year, man. We really have we're deep in the trenches. Like we have like two sets of defensive lines, man. We got Calais Campbell, Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata came over from the Saints. We re-signed Lorenzo Carter from last year. We signed Bud Dupree, longtime Pittsburgh Steeler. Last year he played with the Titans. He came back from injury. So, man, we're loaded on that defensive line, man. So I really feel like the only way that you guys, I really think will beat us is if Bryce Young gets the ball out fast on those short passes. And I really think that you guys are going to have to run the ball and have success running the ball. Personally, I don't think that you guys are going to have success because of all of those guys I mentioned. We're kind of stout this year in the trenches. But if you remember last year when you guys played us, Deontay Foreman ran crazy. Y'all running game, y'all really gashed us in the running game. Y'all kind of gave us a taste of our own medicine, man, because what you guys did to us is what we did to every other opponent. We ran the ball with Tyler Algier. We ran the ball with Cordell Patterson, and you guys kind of gave us a taste of our own medicine, gashing us with Deontay Foreman in that running game. So I really feel like if y'all do that, if y'all come out and run the ball and have success doing it, then it's anybody's game at that point, because that opens up those shots down the field with DJ Chark if he plays. And I really feel like Thielen has looked really good. Like Thielen is a really good route runner. My brother-in-law is actually a Minnesota Vikings fan. So I've seen a lot of, Adam Thielen's games. And I got a lot of respect for him because he's a very crafty veteran, man. He's good in the slot. You can line him up pretty much anywhere, and he finds a way to get open. So I really feel like he's a guy that can really take advantage of us. If we don't get home, Thielen somehow is always open at some point. He's that chain move on third down, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, I will say this. I'm going to stop you real quick. I'll let you get your point out. Now, you do realize that David Onyemata was on that team that we swept, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And also, you know, I always tell this story because I love production. I love to look at the production of teams, you know, from year in, year out to kind of gauge, you know, the talking points. Now, the only reason why we lost that game, that first game in Atlanta, was because injury to D-Jack, because the very next play, you guys did I think it was like a little quick out to someone, and then you guys went to the same spot that D-Jack was at with Demir Bird to get that go-ahead touchdown, which ultimately made us have to go for that field goal. But the game was won by the Panthers in Atlanta if we didn't have to go for that Hail Mary. And then, you know, the second game, you know, that was just, you know, we gassed you guys in Charlotte. So I understand, you know, the trenches is where everything is at. And let's move into this 3-4 defense, you know, dealing with that whole gap and a half, you know, type situation with the defensive line. I still think that we have a little bit of an edge on the Falcons because our linebacking crew, Shaq Thompson, you know, Frankie Louisville, Jeremy Chin, you know, playing the nickel. You know, we got Justin Houston, you know, we got, you know, Derek Brown. We got all these guys that are savvy veterans, I shall say.
Yeah.
You know, and with the addition of Troy Hill coming in, who is I would say a dog on the defense that we need. He's the type of athletic, you know, cornerback that we haven't had in a long time since, I want to say, maybe Josh Norman, maybe what's the light-skinned dude? Golly. I know, I see his face, man. Golly, what's his name? It'll come to me. He had a pick in the 2015 Dallas Cowboy game, Thanksgiving Day game. It'll come to me. But the athleticism in the cornerback room has been kind of, you know, it hasn't been there. Now, last year with Steve Wilkes taking over, we saw this team make a full 180 when it came down to the production. And rightfully so, right before we played you guys. I mean, the game right before you guys was the LA Rams game, which we, you know, it was that game was just a CMC show. Like, we just throw the ball to CMC the whole game so we could trade him away. And I think right before that, I think we traded him on a Tuesday. We played y'all on Sunday. And everybody was like, oh, man, they don't got CMC. We about to tear these boys up, man. And that run game was pretty good. So I do believe that it's going to – I'll say this, because every time we play the Falcons, it's always close.
Yeah.
And then there's times where it's just like a blowout. Either y'all blow us out or we blow y'all out. Like, it ain't never like a, you know, marginal type situation where it's like a 35-22 or, you know what, it's always like 10-17 or 10-16, or it's either going to be 28-10 or 28-6. It's always those type of wide dynamics. So I do believe that this game here, especially with it being week 1, I mean, it's been a while since we opened up against y'all, I think, opening day. I
can't remember the last time. Like, for whatever reason, we always end up playing like the Eagles, or we end up playing. It's so weird. Like, I don't remember the last time we opened up with a division game against you guys. Usually it's either the Saints or the Eagles we play the first week for some reason.
Yeah. And for us, you know, I think last year it was the Browns last year that we opened up with, you know, some, you know, just some outside, you know, nobodies in a sense, even though we lost that game. You know, Baker lost that game, but still, you know, I think this is the first time that we have a division game. And for us Carolina Panthers fans, we got 2 back-to-back, which –
oh, wow.
Yeah, we play y'all week 1, then we play the Saints week 2.
So y'all got to get to it. Is it home at home? The Saints come to you guys?
Yeah, the Saints come to us home on Monday.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and it's a Monday night game, so all eyes going to be on Carolina, you know, at home in the bank, It's going to be a good game, man. But just setting that precedence at first. And that's why I made this whole live up, because I think you'll agree with me, man. If Brian Burns ain't there, that opens the door now to Atlanta really, having a way, because I don't trust a YGM or Deshaun.
Nah.
I just don't. I don't trust it, man. I'm gonna be honest.
Nah. Brian Burns, to me, and this is just for Panther Nation, that's listening. Brian Burns, I would take Brian Burns on the Atlanta Falcons. Brian Burns is one of those guys I have a ton of respect for. He was a guy that I actually watched at Florida State. I actually live in Orlando, Florida. So he's a guy that played at Florida State, and I've been watching him since he was in college on the collegiate level. He's one of them dudes, man. He's a dog. That's why I put in the chat earlier. Like, and one thing about me, no matter what team you play for, what color what color jersey you wear, I keep it a buck, man. And Brian Burns is one of those guys that wreaks havoc, man. In those games last year, especially that second game, when we played you guys when you guys went home, I think it was a Thursday night game. Brian Burns was wreaking havoc, man. And then on the collegiate side, I'm an Auburn Tiger fan. So I know Derek Brown is one of those guys, and that's what I talked about in my video that I did on my channel. Derek Brown is one of those guys that's a beast as well. Yeah. So you guys, y'all front seven is where your strength is. If you guys are going to win this game, I'm a firm believer in the trenches, man. That's where I feel like everything is established. That's where you set the tone of the game. If you can't block the other team on the offensive line, if you can't establish the line of scrimmage by running the ball, and if you can't get after the passer, and that's been the Falcons' biggest Achilles heel, I'll say since that Super Bowl loss, is we just haven't had the guys in the trenches to be able to stop the run. Outside of Grady Jarrett, you need guys, man. And that's why I think Brian Burns will be a huge loss if he doesn't play in this game, because that's what makes you guys balanced. You have Brian Burns, and then on the other side, you went and got Justin Houston, who's a guy that's a veteran, and then you have Derek Brown in the middle. So that, you have a ton of balance. But if Brian Burns is not there, I'm telling you right now, we're running that ball right to whatever side he would be on. Bijan, the first play, we're going directly at whoever's, in his spot. I'm telling you, man. So I definitely think that Brian Burns is to me, he's y'all best defensive player. Like, I love Derek Brown, but I think to me, he's y'all best defensive player. Like, Brian Burns is the guy that's going to set the tone, man. And especially on those third and long situations, if you guys are able to stop our run, like outside of Brian Burns, to me, y'all really don't have another guy other than Justin Houston, which he's a veteran, but at this point in time, I think he's a little bit long in the tooth. So I think that Brian Burns is that guy that's going to set that edge, man. And he has an advantage over, coming off that edge over whoever he's playing against, man. I got that kind of respect from him. So I don't know what the deal is with his contract and stuff like that. I try not to get into contracts, but I definitely think that he deserves to be paid, man. Yeah. All these guys I'm seeing, him, Chris Jones for the Chiefs, like certain guys, it's just like you got to pay him. When Grady Jarrett was up for a new contract, we had to pay him. Like, he's that dude on our team that's that leader. And to me, Brian Burns is one of the leaders on y'all team. That's why you see Shaq Thompson talking the way that he's talking. It's like, it's not even a question. You know what I'm saying? Like, get this man a contract.
Right. Yeah, man. The one thing about Frank Wright, man, he said this when they were evaluating quarterbacks during the draft at the combine, actually. And he said it would be malpractice if we didn't look at every avenue of the quarterback situation for Carolina. Meaning at that time, they was in the avenue of possibly bringing in Derek Carr. Right. I think they actually did talk to Derek Carr while they was in Indianapolis, and found out that he wasn't a good fit. But they did. I mean, I think they even looked at Marcus Mariota as well. They went through every single quarterback option that they had to go ahead and try to figure out what was best for Carolina. So hey, look like Juice stepped off, but hey guys, this game is going to be good, man. I'm excited about the Carolina Panthers, man. I'm excited about this game here. I believe that we have a lot of things to iron out when it comes down to how things are going to look for this game here. Do we have a Brian Burns? Okay, there go Jew. He came back. All right. Jew,
I think I dropped out. I think I'm back though.
Okay. Yeah, what I was telling was we have a lot of things as Carolina Panthers fans to really look at. Do we have a Brian Burns this week? Do we have viability at the wide receiver position? Are our corners ready to go? Those are some concerns that I have as a Carolina Panthers fan. That I feel like a lot of Carolina Panthers fans may have. What are some things that that you're kind of looking at on your side?
Say your question again.
So on our end, we're looking at some things that may be a little bit of an issue for the Carolina Panthers, like Brian Burns not being able to be signed by game day. Will our cornerbacks play up to par? Things like that. What are some concerns that you guys have on your side as Falcons fans?
On our end, man, we have a couple guys that are battling injury. Like, I don't know if you guys follow, our training camp and stuff like that when we're us in the preseason, but Jeff Okudah was a guy that we brought over from the Detroit Lions. We traded for him, and, he's battled injuries throughout his career. He was kind of brought over to be that guy opposite of AJ Terrell. Like, we've been looking for that, number 2 corner that can play outside.
Right.
And he actually had an ankle injury. So during our joint practices with the Miami Dolphins, so he's been missing for the last 4 to 5 weeks. He's been gone. He didn't play in the preseason at all because he got injured. So they're saying that he could play on Sunday, but personally, I don't think that he's going to play. They also said Cordell Patterson, he's another guy that had like a soft tissue injury. I think he had like a pulled hamstring or something like that during it was either Miami week or the Cincinnati Bengals week. So he's another guy. For me personally, Cordell Patterson's been like the fire starter for our team. He's been that guy that's making those explosive plays over the last 2 years when we didn't have a Bijan Robinson. And I think he's one of the leaders on the offense. He's a guy that sets the tone in the run game. And also he's a guy that can return kicks and change the game and flip, field position and things of that nature. So he may not play on Sunday because he's still on the injury report today. He didn't practice. And then we also have Cordero Hodge, he's another special teams guy. He's like a gunner, and then he's like a 3rd or 4th string wide receiver. So we've been battling injury, man. We got some injuries that, got a couple guys nicked up. So any concern is possibly just those guys that are currently nicked up. And then knock on wood, if an injury takes place on our offensive line, right now we have guys that are injured. Like, we don't have really that swing tackle that we need. We had guys that we tried in the preseason that really didn't work out. So we really have to stay healthy with the 5 guys that we have up front. But if somebody were to go down, that would really, really like kind of throw a monkey wrench in the game plan. So, having that depth on the offensive line is key. And I really think that those are some things that I think could be Achilles heels, for our Falcons. If one of those guys go down on that offensive line, we really don't have a ton of depth, or we don't have any guys that are proven behind our starters. So that's one of the things that I'm very concerned about. But outside of those, those injuries, that's pretty much the only concerns I have. Other than, as I mentioned, Desmond Ridder, he's the question mark because nobody knows what he is. Personally, I think that he's a good quarterback, but he still has to go out there and prove it, and silence all the haters. So, I mean, this game is going to be one of those games, and this year is a big year for him because he's trying to prove that he's a franchise guy. Even though they, built around him, he was, I think, a 3rd round pick. So he doesn't have that contract where at any point the Falcons can go left and say, all right, we're going to look for somebody in the draft if he doesn't pan out in the next couple of years.
Right. No, absolutely. So real quick in the chat, Ezra PPP, hey man, thank you. I appreciate you guys for joining in. So it sounds like that you guys have, a couple injuries, just kind of like the Carolina Panthers. I think that ours is a little bit more concerning. I think our offensive line is pretty well set. Zavala and Icky and, Brady Christensen and, them boys, man. I mean, they're pretty solid. We have Austin Corbett, who was placed on IR, who was pretty solid, got injured in I think it was that Saints game last year. So, without him, we were a little thin, but bringing in Zavala, I believe he played at Chapel Hill up there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or Duke, one of the two. But, he's pretty solid. I feel confident in the offensive line. The one place I'm kind of iffy about, and I've been kind of talking about this ever since we came out of training camp, was Miles Sanders nursing a groin injury. And, right behind Miles Sanders, you have Chuba Hubbard. And I'm just not confident if this thing hasn't healed the correct way. And if you do y'all have grass or y'all have turf there in Atlanta?
I believe it's turf, if I'm not mistaken. If it is grass, it's artificial. We play in a dome. Yeah, but I have a quick question for you while you're on talking about you guys running backs. Why didn't the Carolina Panthers re-sign Deontay Foreman? Because that shocked me that you guys didn't re-sign him.
Oh man, that was about to be a good question, man. Drew, you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Okay, re-ask your question again.
Yeah. So just talking about you guys' running game, I was shocked that you guys didn't re-sign Deontay Foreman. What was the reason you guys didn't re-sign him?
All right, so I've heard a couple different speculatory things. I think the biggest thing was just the money. I believe that he wanted. I think he wanted maybe a little bit more of a long-term deal. I think they were going to offer him like a year deal for like 2, maybe 1.5 or 2. I think the Bears came in with 1 year for 3.
Okay.
Yeah, but he would have been number 1 running back here, hands down. You know,
right?
He went to Chicago, and I think he's like number 2, number 3 on the depth chart, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
you know, I get the money aspect because, I mean, same thing like what we're talking about with Brian Burns. When it comes down to, you know, the production on the field, is that the same equivalent to what you're being paid? And if you're being overpaid, then that's an issue. If you're being underpaid, then, you know, the production on the field is going to show that. So I don't know, because the deal that they did give Brian Burns, you know, he turned it down back in the offseason, but we don't know what that deal was.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was really surprised with that, man. I was like, they didn't bring back Deontay Foreman because we actually had Deontay Foreman last season. He was on our practice squad, but we had him in the preseason, I believe, and they cut him in the preseason. And then he eventually signed with the Panthers signed with you guys in the regular season. But I thought that he was a better fit. Personally, I think he would have been a better fit for you guys than Miles Sanders, because Miles Sanders, he's better at doing everything. Like, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's great at, you know, he can hit the home run, you know, as far as running the ball. But as far as running the ball between the tackles, I think that Deontay Foreman is a little bit harder to tackle because he's a guy that one cut, he gonna go north and south, he gonna go downhill. Right. Whereas Miles Sanders is more of a scat back. Like, he's gonna catch the ball. He's gonna do what CMC do, but like a poor man's CMC. You know, he's not on that level, but he's a poor man's Christian McCaffrey. So I was surprised to see you guys go after him, just because even with Philly, that was one of the reasons they didn't want to re-sign him, was because of his injury history. So you're talking about him being nicked up. And I'm like, that's been his biggest issue since he's been in the NFL, is just he can't stay healthy.
Right.
So I was surprised to see you guys let Deontay walk, you know, and go to Chicago.
Man, if you looked at my earlier videos, I put on there because if you looked at it, the Carolina Panthers had the cheapest running back field in the whole NFL. I mean, we had Raheem Blackshear that was on a deal that was probably worth like $570,000. You had Chuba Hubbard that only had 2 more years left on his contract that was barely pushing $2 million. And then all you had to do was re-sign him for, you know, if you was going to give him a 1-year deal, give him 2 years, $5 million or something like that. You know, something like that. At least it still would have been okay. And, you know, you see the production that we got in half of a season. He almost bust like 900 in less than 10 games? Yeah,
he was going crazy. Like, I know he was going crazy. When you guys went on that streak, he was going crazy. Like, when we played him, I was just like, please stop handing that man the ball, because I knew we couldn't stop it, man. It was just like, you know, a hot knife through butter, man. Like, when he was running that ball, I was like, maybe he just got it out for us because we didn't keep him on the squad, man. And he was sticking it to us, man. And Arthur Smith and him have also had history as well, because he was also in Tennessee with Arthur Smith. So that was a reason that they had brought him on during training camp, but he didn't end up making the team because we were deep in the backfield as well. We had like three or four good running backs. That's why I was shocked with the Bijan Robinson pick, to be honest with you. I didn't think we were going to go after Bijan Robinson because we had Tyler Algier, who was a rookie last year, 5th-round pick, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. So, you know, that's why I said everything starts and ends with our running game. If you want to beat the Falcons, you got to stop that run, man. That's what we're looking to do, and we're not making it no secret.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you know, it's it's a little disheartening, man, to see, because if you think about Carolina Panthers football, you think about the run game. You think about Jonathan Stewart, your D'Angelo Williams, two-headed monster type situation. You can even go back further than that. The Carolina Panthers have always had a run identity. Stephen Davis, we always had a run down your mouth identity with you know what I mean? And to see us get smaller and smaller, because I remember at one point I was like, why we even got Christian McCaffrey? Like, this dude can't even hit the hole right. And then that next year, I don't know what he did. He got beefed up. I mean, Christian McCaffrey was unstoppable. I want to say it had to be the 2019 to 2020 year. Christian McCaffrey was unstoppable, man. Like,
he's a beast. Yeah, he's a beast, man. To be honest, coming out of that draft, I thought you guys were going to take Leonard Fournette because I thought that he kind of fit the mold of the type of running back that you guys, because at that point you still had Cam Newton. So I was like, man, you got Cam pulling the ball, and then you have Leonard Fournette, running down your throat. That's going to be hard to stop because you guys normally went for bigger running backs. But CMC surprised me. Like, I watched him as well at college when he was at Stanford. And I thought he was a pretty good back, but I didn't think that he was as physical as he is as far as running the ball between the tackles. He surprised me with that, man. And he's still unstoppable. That dude, even with the 49ers, other than injuries, the injuries that he had, and he's not the biggest guy, but he's stout for his size, and he doesn't go down usually with the first tackle for him to be a smaller guy.
Right. And I'm going to be honest with you, sidebar real quick. If Brock Purdy didn't go down last year, the 49ers was going to the Super Bowl. 49ers would win with that run that they got over there, and the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like the Carolina Panthers are trying to emulate that same thing over here with Laviska Shenault. That Deebo Samuel bubble type stuff or whatever, wide receiver screen stuff, motion in the backfield. I feel like they're trying to do that same thing. But here's the thing, though, when it comes down to them, everything was derived off the pass. In my opinion,
right.
It wasn't derived off the run. The run just hit you in the mouth whenever they did do it. But everything was derived off the pass. So players like having Laviska Shenault come in and, Amir Smith-Marset with these different type of skill sets that the Carolina Panthers didn't have last year with just having DJ. I mean, let's be totally honest. We only had one wide receiver last year, which was DJ Moore. One real wide receiver. Everybody was complimentary, but I feel like this year we actually have like multiple good wide receivers, which leads me to believe that our offensive attack is going to be a little different than how it was in previous times. We'll be a little bit more gadgety than before, but I kind of feel like we're going to be along the lines of that 49ers type of offense, just how they maneuver their offense, and going down the field.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like a lot of the teams in the NFL right now, even the Falcons, they run some form of like the West Coast offense. Because if you remember in 2016, we had Kyle Shanahan, who's the head coach of the 49ers, calling those plays. Mm-hmm. And we ran a similar scheme. And even Arthur Smith's scheme, so at some point, all of it is some type of semblance of the West Coast offense. So I really feel like, we play that, as we say, we play positionless football. It's not really like certain positions out there because we got guys like Kyle Pitts, Mac Hollins, Drake London. When you line guys up somewhere everywhere, then Bijan Robinson is going to be a guy that's going to come out the backfield and catch the ball, CP. So, man, I completely agree, man. I mean, as far as the 49ers beating the Eagles, I wouldn't say that they would have beat them because I don't know that for a fact. But I'll say it would have been a better game because I feel like they didn't have nobody that could throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? And I really feel like the 49ers, they can beat anybody. Like if you look at their talent from top to bottom, their roster, every year they're a Super Bowl contender, based off of Deebo Samuel, based off the guys they have, Ayuk catching the ball, and then they found a quarterback, it seemed like, with Brock Purdy. And that's why they were on that win streak, man. So I would have loved to see them at full strength to see how that game really panned out. Because after Purdy went down, they basically did. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was pretty much like they just sat on the lead at that point. They really couldn't do anything. So, but hand the ball off, So at that point, it wasn't a game.
It's predicated on the pass, man. And and that's a good thing when you got someone that can pass. But
yeah.
If you don't, man, we saw that, man. I felt so bad for the 49ers, man. They had Christian McCaffrey out there throwing the
Right, yeah, man. Yeah, it was crazy. Josh Johnson, it's a reason why Josh Johnson is the backup for a reason, man. No disrespect to him, but yeah, that Eagles defense was on another level last year. That's why I think there'll be another team that kind of take a step back because they lost a lot of key players on that team, man. So I feel like the same thing goes for them. I think the 49ers will be back. They'll be one of those contending teams this year. They always are. The Eagles are always a formidable team, but like I said, just getting back to the Panthers and the Falcons, I really think it's going to come down to you guys' offensive line. If you guys can establish that run and give Bryce Young time, like we'll talk about his size and stuff like that, I know that he can make every throw out there on the field, but it's just, does he have time to step into his pass? Is he running for his life? Because the type of defense that we run now with Ryan Nielsen, he came over from the Saints, and you know the way the Saints play defense, everything is blitzing, coming downhill at you. And the Falcons from the last couple years, we've mainly been a team, even when we had Dan Quinn, where we were kind of like a cover 3 scheme. So everything was keep everything in front of you. It really was not a lot of blitzing and things of that nature. And I feel like this year that might catch you guys off guard just by this Falcons team is not going to be like any other team that you've seen in the past. Like it's been a really, really long time since we had an aggressive defense. We always kind of had a defense that we're going to make the other team wait for them to make a mistake type deal, keep them, keep everything out in front of us. We're not going to give up the big play. But now it's like, because we've brought in Ryan Nielsen, you're going to see a lot more man-to-man bump and run coverage where it's going to be a lot of, safeties coming down in the blocks blitzing, linebackers flying in blitzing. And I really feel like, I think that's one of the reasons I think that the Falcons had an upper hand in this game. And I talked about this on the video that I did is, I think that Bryce Young, he's a great quarterback, but I think they're going to throw so much at him in this first game that there's only so much he's seen so far on film, and I really think that that'll be the difference in the game. And that's why I said it's going to come down to your offensive line and coaching, really. I really think is what it's going to come down to. I think the second game that you guys play us will be a little bit better because you guys at that point have your feet set. Bryce Young have been to play some NFL regular season games. Your offensive line have been able to gel a little bit more. And at that point, it'll be more of a fair fight. In this game, I really feel like he's kind of being thrown to the wolves, man. To be real with you, I think he's being thrown out there, man. And if y'all don't have Brian Burns, man, or if y'all don't have DJ Chark, because I heard you talking about some of the injuries that you guys have. If you guys are not at full strength, I really think that that's going to handicap you guys. So I don't even think it'll be any type of reflection, like on Bryce Young or his career, anything in this first game. Because we got to be real. This is this man's first NFL game. Last year, when Desmond Ridder started his first game, he played against New Orleans in New Orleans. I wasn't expecting that man to come out there and win that game. Let's just be real. First game of the season, his first game in the regular season being thrown out there in hostile territory. We know how crazy it is on Bourbon Street. We know how crazy it is, against the division rivals. So I think in this game, Bryce Young is kind of behind enemy lines, man. Then it's in Atlanta. I mean, if he wins this game, I'm going to tell you one thing. I already got respect for him, but I'll have even more respect for him if he's able to pull off the win. With y'all having a new head coach, like it's so much, so many odds stacked against you guys. Like if you guys win this game, man, it'll be special. Not saying that we that great of a team. I just really think that if you look from top to bottom, I just think that we have the depth, we have the experience because our coach, he's in his third year. So our team knows the scheme. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like we have the advantage in every, I really don't see anywhere where I can say Carolina is like, you guys are better. I don't see anywhere where I can say, man, if this happens, because I really don't see you guys running the ball as much as I keep saying, like, if you guys run the ball like you did last year, I just don't see it happening, man. But I could be wrong. This is why they play the game, man. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening in any facet. I mean, I thought of all the different ways you guys could possibly beat us. And I'm like, unless some type of crazy freak injury happens or something like that, man, I don't see it. I really don't see it in this first game for Bryce Young. I really think that he's going to have a hard time, I think we're going to come out super aggressive and they're going to make him make quick decisions. And I think another thing that a lot of people are not looking at is Jesse Bates being on our team, man. In that secondary at that safety position coming over from Cincinnati, he's a playmaker, man. And I just feel like they're going to force some type of turnover. Whether it's Bryce Young go to throw the ball and the ball is batted, I just feel like it's going to be something in this game that's going to happen. That's going to kind of like swing that momentum in our favor. The only way I see you guys winning, y'all going to have to jump out to a lead. And then if that happens, I think that y'all have a chance. But y'all going to definitely have to force some turnovers as well. I don't think y'all can allow us to just play our game, run the ball, play action. Y'all gonna have to force us into like some third and longs and stuff like that. And then y'all gonna have to put Bryce Young on some short fields, man.
Oh yeah. Hey, I hear you, man. Now I will say this real quick before we go ahead and go, that this is the same defensive coordinator that the Panthers did skunk last year, and we swept them last year. So that's to me, that's a point of reference to make all Carolina Panthers fans feel at ease a little bit with this new defensive coordinator over here in Atlanta. Real quick before we go, Jew, score predictions. What you think? Give me a score prediction.
Ooh, man. I would say close, but you know how you said either it's going to be close or it's going to be a blowout. I really could.
Hey, you know I'm gonna clip this, right?
Yeah, hey, you got to clip it, man. But I'm being I'm being real with you, man. Like I really don't like doing score predictions, but I think as much as I say the games are normally close, I don't think this game is going to be close, man. I think it's going to be like, I don't think we're going to blow you out like 40 something. I think it's going to be like a 28. I'll say like 28 to 14. I think we beat you guys by at least 2 touchdowns. So I'll say 28-14. I don't know if you consider that a blowout. I don't consider it a blowout, but I don't see it being as close as our games normally be. Like last year, I think the game where you guys talked to like the Hail Mary was like 23-25. I don't see it being that close of a game. I really think the Falcons get out to an early lead and kind of feed off the crowd and stuff like that, man. And I think you guys will get a couple of late scores so that the game will be kind of out of hand in the fourth quarter. I don't see this being a game where it's going to come down to the fourth quarter like it normally does. Now, that second game against you guys in Carolina, I think that game will be one of those games where it's nip and tuck. But this game, I think the Falcons going to kind of pull away from you guys, to be real with you.
Okay. Well, my score prediction, as of right now, I believe that the Carolina Panthers are definitely going to win this game, but I do believe that it's going to be a close game, only because week one is normally kind of like that. We just don't know. So my score prediction is probably about 17-10 Carolina.
17-10, okay.
Yeah, 17-10 Carolina. I want to keep it along the defensive side. I think both defenses come out and play. I think the offense take a little bit of time to kind of get going on both fronts, but I do believe that I think Carolina has a little bit more of an edge than the Falcons this year. So, Jew,
okay.
Go ahead and tell them your page, man. Tell them where they can follow you at, man.
Yeah, man, y'all definitely can follow me. Jew Talk Sports. Check me out on YouTube. You also can follow me on Twitter at Jew Talk Sports, and also on Instagram, Jew Talk Sports. So everything is simple at Jew Talk Sports, man. Y'all definitely come over, man. We show everybody love, man. So even if you're from Panther Nation, I'll show you guys some love, man. I keep it 100 on my channel. So if you leave something on there, comment, question, I try to keep it real with you guys, man. Even if I am biased to my Falcons, but I try to keep it real. And I think he'll say the same. We've been talking back and forth, man. Of course, I bleed that black and red, but I got respect for the Carolina Panthers, man. Like I said, you guys are, to me, similar, man. The way that you guys, your team is built, the way you guys run the ball, play defense, usually are good on the line of scrimmage. That's pretty much what the Falcons is doing over here too, man. So I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm going to have you on my channel as well, man.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to it, man. Hey, you guys, go ahead and go support Juice Talk Sports, man. He's a pretty good podcaster for the Falcons, man. Even though we're with different teams, just really, really good content, man. Very, very the analysis that he gives, man, is really, really good. And, I just enjoy it, man. Good content. Jew, man, I appreciate you, my brother.
Hey, most definitely. Look, I'm going to have to pull up after the game, man. We're going to have to get together at some point, like next week or something, man. And we'll have to talk a little bit about what happened, man. I said 28-14, so we'll see how accurate I am, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Hold on. You got a comment here. Desmond Ridder going to go out there and turn the ball over too. The most competitive games will be against the Saints as far as the division is concerned. And then Zach says, this feels like negotiations, not holdout. I'm still fairly confident the Panthers will get a deal done with Brian Burns. I actually just got I just saw that from Mike Rimmer. Mike Rimmer just reported that it doesn't feel like it's a holdout, just negotiations, and feels confident that a deal will get done this week, which I hope so. You know, it'll put a little bit more paint where it ain't right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I hope he there, man. Like, if you check out my channel, man, I hate injuries and I hate holdouts, man. I want you guys at full strength. Because look, when we win, I don't want no excuses. So I like when the team is at full strength, no injuries, you know what I'm saying? No guys suspended. Because usually that's when it's like, well, see, if we would have had him and if I would have had my cousin, look, we want y'all to be at full strength. Y'all best players.
More in the dome, we would have won, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. We want y'all to be at full strength. I want Brian Burns out there. I wish that meant nothing but the best, but I want to see all the dogs on the field, and I want to see those guys go out there and compete at a high level, man.
Facts, man. Drew, man, I love you, man. We gonna talk, my boy.
Most definitely. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right.
Man.
Best of luck Sunday. All right, man. I'll holler at you.
Most def, man. Most def. All right, y'all. So, hey, man, that was Drew Talk Sports, man. If y'all haven't, go ahead and subscribe to his channel, man. Really, really great Falcons podcaster, man. Real quick, guys, if y'all haven't, please do me one favor and go subscribe to the channel. Hey, it only takes 1 second to hit that subscribe button, man. Only takes 1 second, man. Hey, this week 1, y'all. Panthers versus Falcons. I mean, what more can you ask for, man? This is what we've been dreaming for ever since, you know, we moved up to number 1, seeing Bryce Young, you know, being picked as the number 1 QB for Carolina, man, number 1 draft pick. So we're here. The week is here. Let's hope that Brian Burns gets his deal. Let's hope that, you know, we see him at practice on tomorrow in full pads, man, and getting this playbook down, man, this scheme ready for Atlanta, man. So, hey, this is your boy Demetrius with the PPP, Panthers Prime Podcast. I know what time it is. Let's go.